Nigeria's foreign trade hits 9.18 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2019. Federal government suspends Turkish Airlines flight operations to Nigeria. Federal government reopens subscription offer for December bond. The United States and China move closer to a resolution. Oil prices extend gains, scaling 3-month highs. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams. The federal government has opened for subscription December bonds, reopening the April 2023, April 2029, and April 2049 bonds, offering investors 50 billion naira each across each tenor. The Debt Management Office states it was authorized to receive applications for subscription on behalf of the federal government. A breakdown of the 150 billion naira bonds indicates a reopening of 50 billion naira 5-year bond at 12.75%, 50 billion naira 10-year bond at 14.55%, and 5 billion naira 30-year bond at 14.80%. Oil prices extended gains Friday, scaling 3-month highs as the United States and China moved closer to a resolution to the 18-month trade war between the world's two biggest economies that has raised big questions about global demand for crude. Brent futures climbed 48 cents to $64.68 a barrel, its highest since September 23, 2019. West Texas Intermediate was up 36 cents to $59.54 a barrel, the highest since September 16, 2019. While a trade deal that would end uncertainty could provide a shot in the arm for oil demand in the near term, concerns continue to hover about the demand profile amid ample supplies going forward. Gold prices fell on Friday after sources said Washington and Beijing had reached an interim trade deal and averted a fresh round of U.S. tariffs, boosting appetite for riskier assets. Now, To improve transparency in the extractive and mining sector of the economy, the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, (NITI), has launched a digital register of beneficial owners of mining licenses in the country. NITI's newly created beneficial ownership portal has two sections: oil and gas and solid minerals. With the federal government's commitment to diversifying the economy, the NITI beneficial ownership portal would be a good beginning to understanding the mining ecosystem by asset size, equity ownership, and ownership name.
The portal consists of two sections, oil and gas and solid mineral sections. When you click on oil and gas, the search page for oil and gas will open.
It aligns with the Open Treasury Portal unveiled by the President just a few days ago. It is also the fulfillment of the commitment that President Buhari made at the London Anti-Corruption Summit in 2016, and it's the fulfillment of Nigeria's commitment under the Open Government Partnership and to the EITI. All of us have roles to play this, big or small, in making sure that the register really counts.
NITI Register is a major effort at cleaning up the industry and preparing it for additional domestic and foreign investment. And to take a deeper look into NITI's beneficial ownership portal launch, I am joined by the Director of Communications at the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. He is no person other than Oji Ogbonaya. Oji, you're welcome to
Thank you very much. Thank
Express.
you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, only yesterday, NITI launched the beneficial ownership portal. And the question is, what really is the idea behind this register?
Well, thank you very much. And I think it was a very important milestone that we recorded yesterday, being the first country in Africa and joining other 5 other countries around the world. United Kingdom, Netherlands, Denmark, and Ukraine as countries that have an open register that you can, at a click of a button, you know who owns what in the oil, gas, and the mining sector. This is a huge, long journey to get to this level. When we started, we focused more on just providing information and data for the public on how much did companies pay to government, how much of that money did government actually receive, and what did we use the money for. But in the course of this job, we also found out that in order to push the boundaries of transparency, you needed to know who are the people who are doing this business. Do they actually use their names, or do they use a cover? Because on the street of Abuja, you can ask a driver, a common taxi driver, I won't say common, but they have more information than some of us. Who owns this building? They will tell you. But maybe when you go to land registration registry, or you go to CAC, you look at the information there, the names won't connect, but the real citizens, they know exactly who owns what. We want this to be documented on a portal because it's very good for our country, and it's good for
talking about its goodness for the country. Who actually needs this register, and how does it support businesses and investment, talking about its economic value?
Thank you very much again. The citizens need that information, because when you have that information, security agencies need that information, the Nigerian citizens need that information, government themselves need that information, even the owners of the businesses need that information. They need to know who is doing business within the sector. When you have this information, it helps to check illicit financial flows. It helps to check tax evasion. It helps to check terrorism financing. It helps to check conflict of interest. When you are in a position and you use companies with pseudonyms and register and then do business, it makes it very difficult for transparency and accountability to be tracked. There is nothing, and it makes it also very easy for investors to make a very fair and constructive decision.
So you mean it is in line with the anti-corruption reforms ongoing by the federal government?
Precisely, like the Executive Secretary of NITI said when we unveiled the register yesterday, It's very, very important that we align. The president of our country went to England, went to London in 2016 and made a commitment that this register will be available and accessible in Nigeria. And that commitment we took seriously because it falls within our mandate. It also aligns with the portfolio the president has just unveiled on financial. All these are inclusive and coordinated effort to make sure that we reduce to the barest minimum corruption in the sector, and then more money will be available to tackle the issues of security.
How does it really work? You said it can help to check illicit transfer of funds, funding for terrorism, possibly insurgency, and all that. How does it work?
Yeah, but when
are you saying business owners actually max themselves and a lot of things happen behind the scene without really getting to know? Now that this is in the open, is going to tame that. How does it work?
Well, corruption happens in the absence of information. Corruption happens in the atmosphere of darkness, no information. When a company is aware that the citizens know how they operate, where their monies are, what they use their money for, they will be very careful on what they get themselves involved in. But when a company is aware that you don't know, they can get into certain activities that may be inimical to good business development environment.
Okay. So how did NATI generate this information, the data, the names, the addresses, and the owners of companies, and what's the thought process like?
Well, in the course of our mandate, we conduct annual audits every year, trying to reconcile how much did companies pay to government in form of taxes, in form of royalty, in form of signature bonuses, in form of concessions and rents and so on, and in form of inflows from equity crude sales, crude of export sales that we make. Then in course of these, we develop what we call templates, which are like questionnaires to companies. The companies have to complete that information through the annual financial report on what they have paid to government. Government agencies that receive this money also supply the same information. We do a reconciliation. In the course of these, all kinds of very basic questions like you are trying to ask, who are the owners of business? So the companies actually supplied us this information voluntarily based on our interaction with them. And the government agencies also provided. So
where is the place of CAC in all of this? I know everybody who goes to register a company in the CAC is got all of these details. Are you working together?
Yeah, we work together, but at this moment, the CAC is on a larger scale. The CAC, for the CAC to publish a beneficial ownership register, they will need to amend what we call the KAMA law, the law on Company Allied Matters Act, which is before the National Assembly, and the progress of that, we don't know how long that will take. They're also working with the DPI. Their own register will cover all companies registered in Nigeria. That's not where we are. Where we are now are oil and gas companies, oil and gas mining companies that are producing. When you have a mining license, you are not producing, you are not in this register. We are talking of those that are actually on production.
Okay.
And there are, in the mining, there are about 270 licenses that are working, that are producing. And in the gas, oil and gas, we have about 56 companies. And there are about 61 assets we're talking about in the
oil and gas.
Yes, that are actually on production.
What is the legal backing, any legality? Like you said, the CAC, for them to get to publish, they have to amend the KAMA law. What provision is NATI working on for this?
Well, NATI is backed by a law. The NATI Act of 2007 is an act of National Assembly. We also belong to the international organization called the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, which is a commitment that Nigeria voluntarily joined in, and to keep their principles and standards as part of reforms in the extractive industry. We also, there is also, as I told you, a commitment that the president himself made as part of a build-up to implementing the anti-corruption agenda of the administration. It's a total comprehensive package. And
okay. My concern, and I'm sure some other persons out there might have same concerns, where is the place of confidentiality of all this information? Then talking about enforcement and also accountability as a whole, as a package.
You see, when a country embraces democracy, that country is saying, we are open. And our country has embraced democracy. So the thinking of those days where public finance management or natural resource governance are opaque and not the citizens are shielded away from information, that era is gone. It's gone. In any democratic society, you tune on to your television, you see the US Congress, you see House of Commons, you see there is nothing hidden. Because
are we there yet? Or
we are moving there. Nigeria has also
and this is a good initiative.
Yes, Nigeria has already signed into the Open Government Initiative, OGP.
Yes, the OGP.
So, and all this innovation, all this initiative, global initiative, is saying, look, what can help our society is openness, competition, fairness, competition, and then efficiency. Once you bring this into governance, there will be enough opportunities for everyone. There will be jobs. There will be enough revenue to tackle insecurity. There will be enough revenue to tackle infrastructure. There will be enough revenue to provide amenities. And a harmonious society is built. But a very cantankerous society, a society that is built on strife, is a society that is closed, where only a few people have access to information, and the rest are shrouded in secrecy. The more information you have, the difference between a developed and a developing nation is the amount of information and freedom.
Okay. This openness, how far can it go in boosting global perception about Nigeria?
Oh yeah, it's the way to go, because when investors want to make investment decisions, they want to go to a society that is predictable, a society that have laws, a society that is governed by rule of law. They want to invest their money in a society that can predict what can happen in 1 year, what can happen in 2 years, what can happen in 3 years, and then be able to make a decision based on those kind of information. And so the amount of information that people have gives them the opportunity to make informed decision. And that's where NITI is focused on opening up the oil and gas sector, that on the click of a button, you should know who have OPL 116, OPL 745, just the numbers. You pick a button, you know. It doesn't harm. And when you have this information, it builds citizens' trust.
Talking about citizens' trust, more so that it's a new initiative,
yes,
and IT is getting to blaze a trail.
Yeah.
What is the role of citizens in ensuring that this thing works and works well?
Well, ours is to provide this information in the public domain. The role of the citizens is to take this information as a tool to hold government and companies accountable, because he who has information and data controls the debate. You don't go into certain arguments with speculation. You have to have facts, and those facts were provided. So the amount of information that the citizens have empowers them to be able to ask informed questions. You don't criticize government by speculation.
Talking about criticism.
And when we're talking about this, we're talking of constructive criticism that brings about change that will be beneficial to both government and the citizens. And
is this an end in itself?
No,
is it
I
a
don't
means
think so.
to an
It's
end?
a means.
So this is the starting point.
Yes, the progress that we have just made, and this progress is what we expect the citizens to take advantage of. Don't use this information negatively.
Yeah.
And don't use the information to witch hunt. Use this information to ask informed questions that can lead to reforms, and these reforms can lead to impact that will be of benefit to the country and benefit to the citizens.
Wow, thank you very much, Naiti.
I appreciate it.
It's been Oji Obonaya, Oji, the Director Communications of Naiti. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. Over the years, United States has continued to demonstrate a strong commitment towards a sustainable, progressive support for Nigeria, and has invested hugely in advancing and promoting the development of the country economically. Amina Nujaim in this report x-rays some of the bilateral ties between both countries.
The diplomatic relationship between the United States and Nigeria dates back to the 1960s when Nigeria gained independence. Over the decades, both countries have, through several bilateral and multilateral arrangements, solidified cooperation, which has seen them enjoy mutually benefiting relations essentially in economic development, security, and world peace. As Africa's biggest economy and most populous nation, Nigeria, with an estimated gross domestic product of $375 billion in addition to a strong human capacity of about 200 million people. Some say Nigeria is strategically positioned in the development equation of the West African sub-region. This also positions the country as the largest market in Africa for prospective international investors. To buttress this point, the state of Georgia and the Nigerian government recently put together an expo to attract investors across various sectors in the Nigerian economy. Over the years, the United States has demonstrated a strong commitment towards a sustainable progressive support for Nigeria and has invested hugely in advancing and promoting the development of the country. Indeed, the United States is the largest foreign investor in Nigeria, with a total capital input in 2017 at $1.3 billion. The U.S. foreign direct investment (FDI) in Nigeria reached $5.8 billion in 2017, a 32.8% increase from 2016, while Nigeria's FDI in the United States hit $61 million in 2017, up 48.8% from 2016. The depth of economic ties between Nigeria and the U.S. was underscored in April 2018 when the U.S. President Donald Trump hosted President Muhammadu Buhari at the White House to discuss efforts to further deepen mutually beneficial relations.
To follow global trend in the education sector and ensure liberalization of key economic sectors, the Bureau of Public Enterprises has adopted some modalities in the education sector to encourage reading culture among young school children and inspire healthy competition among schools. Chimobi Walter Naji reports that to correct this anomaly, the Bureau of Public Enterprises took its privatization policy campaign to schools, conducting essay competitions nationwide to build creative writing among students and reach the younger generation with the privatization and sector reform message.
Deliberate and concerted efforts by the Bureau to reach the younger generation with a vision that education is the bedrock of the society and that since privatization ultimately improves the well-being of the people, the younger generation needs to feel the impact of the privatization agency.
Director General, Bureau of Public Enterprises, also used the opportunity to react to the strike embarked upon by the National Union of Electricity Employees, whose recent industrial action has been raising dust nationwide.
We have committed to resolving all the issues that were raised by the unions, and to be honest, not all of those issues were really outstanding. Some of them had been dealt with. It was just a matter of communication, right? So we were able to communicate to the union leaders that those issues have been resolved. And the other outstanding issues, government made a firm commitment that they will be addressed as soon as possible.
Trade on the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed bearish Friday as the all-share index depreciated by 0.13% to close at 26,536.21 basis points, with market capitalization at 12.8 trillion naira, 155.3 trillion shares worth 1.4 billion naira traded at the end of the session. UBA was the most active stock, followed by Zenith Bank. The top gainers were Presco, Dangote Sugar, and WAPCO, while MTN Nigeria, GlaxoSmith, and UBA were the top decliners. That's a wrap on this edition of Business Express. Don't forget, you can access all the previous episodes on our YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is at NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback, and I am Benny Adams saying, do have a fulfilling weekend as you keep thinking and doing business.